Welcome to Fresh Off the Boat. This is a podcast series launched in the times of COVID. The idea was to reconnect with students I've worked with in the past. I run EdBrand. It's an education consulting firm based out of New Delhi, India, and I'm delighted to interview our past students. Today's guest is Anish Bora. Anish went to DPS RK Puram, and even in those days when I met him, it was interesting that his enterprising and creative abilities were to the fore. Being in a new school and moved from another city, uh, he sort of found his place there. So I'm sure learning about how you did the same thing and even more at Furman University in the US would be interesting. So the first question to you, Anish, is how did you find settling into a new environment, in a new land, in a new college setting where you didn't know anyone?
Yeah, so I have had a really interesting journey because the first time I came to the US was a week before my orientation started. That was the international orientation at Furman, and we don't have any like family friends or friends in general in the US. So it was a very new experience for me. No one from my family had ever left the country before. I was the first one to do so. And yeah, there were a lot of challenges. The only time that I had seen Furman was that I had met a admission counselor that you had arranged, and his description and Google Maps. That was the only way that I had explored the university. I just trusted it, and I made my way. And I still remember the university is in South Carolina, so it was a little bit of cultural shock because when in popular media, US is portrayed as New York or LA or Chicago, whereas South Carolina is very, very different from any of that. So when I got there, I was like, where the skyscrapers and like where the big tall buildings? But it's the South, so like everyone drives there. Public transportation is very different there, or almost non-existent. So yeah, it was a really interesting transition, I would say, and I think I got a different view of or different perspective of what a US is, and it has helped me understand the US more whole around like the way the word that admission counselors use a lot. Like I've gotten a holistic view of US rather than people who come and land in big cities and then just stay there.
Great. So that's amazing. You know, the southern hospitality, they say, and the people. Did you, over the course of your orientation and subsequently, like in the 4 years you were there, what is it that you realized about the community in a small liberal arts college in South Carolina? What is so unique about it?
I think South Carolina unique as in South Carolina is less diverse than I would say other places in America. And I think the thing that you understand while living in the South, where the majority of the population is the majority of America, that's like white Americans, and that you realize how different you are from most of the people. You do realize how most of America is because the big cities, like I mentioned before, have more diversity and you find different kinds of people. So I think like it helped me learn from what majority of America is like and also tell them my story of where I come from and like clear up stereotypes and like I got to understand more of how people see us as Indians in places which are like not New York or not Boston or not LA, I think.
Great. What about the academic style? I know coming in from a CBSE school in New Delhi, it's very different to move to a liberal arts setting with all the gen ed requirements and class discussions and all of that. How was it for you?
I think the main difference was writing a lot. I think every US college like focuses on it's a very like research paper based education than less focus on like exams and quizzes, even if there are those things in analytical subjects. But um, even like in courses like in CBSE, like we had history or geography, like we had to just memorize things and like just vomit it out in the exam. Like we kind of had an idea of what kind of questions can be asked and what kind of things that we should study. But there is more of an exploration when you're studying in a liberal arts college, and it's not only it makes you think because it's not only like exams that if it's A, then it's B. It's more like if it's A, there's so many more answers to that. So go find yours. We are here to guide you.
Yeah. So, what about the courses that you really liked? If you were to reflect on things which were not related to your design major, uh, which you really feel helped you learn a lot, or and then talk a little bit about the journey that you took to decide your major and minors.
I think the most interesting. This is funny because there was a course on Ramayana, and I took that because I did not have enough time to complete like two general ed courses, and that course was a double dip, meaning it satisfied two of my requirements. So it was perfect for me, and that semester was very loaded for me. So since I already knew the content um, coming from India, like it just kind of was an easy way out, I felt. So I took it, but it was less from the religion perspective. It was more from a philosophy perspective. So I did have to study in that class. Like I knew the story, but there was more analysis of what the story was, and I had to dive deeper in it. I even like used to call my mom and like ask her about things because my final paper was like the Assamese version of Ramayana rather than the Valmiki one, which we all know. So not only did I get to dive more and learn more about my own culture, I also got to see how people in that class react to questions and like scenarios that were brought up um, in the like class. Our professor was a very interesting professor that he had spent 9 years in India and also a year in Bangladesh. So I also ended up having a relationship with him, and his wife was also a professor. So I still stay in touch with them. So even if it was something that I thought that it was, I'll just go in, write some papers, and be done with it because I already know the content. It was much more than that. Like I said, like it's more research and like thought provoking. So like that was very interesting to me.
That's an amazing story. And how about deciding what you want to study and finally choosing your major, minors? How was that journey?
So I going in, I knew that I was going to do computer science and I was going to study graphic design because that was my passion. I had taken computer science not because of that I'm that Indian kid who wanted to do computer science. It was more about I was not sure if I wanted to do web design at the beginning. If I wanted the UX UI was not big back then, so it was web design basically. And while I was doing those courses, I realized that I'm not that in, I'm not that interested in doing computer science. Rather, I wanted to do I ended up doing IT, which was most of the courses in computer science except like computational part, which was more on the science part that I didn't really care because I knew that I was going to just apply the knowledge, do research over that. Whereas my brother did the opposite, and my art course stayed the same. But before I started Furman, there is like since our calendars were different, like Indian education and American education, there was a huge gap between March and August. And Furman does this program. I'm not sure if they're still doing it, but they used to run two programs, one to China and one to Japan. And if you were accepted into the program, then they would pay for everything in the trip. Like apart from you buying souvenirs, they would pay for everything. The only condition being that you have to learn that language. So I knew that I had to learn one language. So initially I had thought I'll learn Spanish because that's the second highest spoken language in the US. But then I figured, yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to learning something which is completely different, and that was Japanese for me. So when I went there, I really I really liked the trip. It was a 2-week trip. Then we came back and I started learning Japanese. Then I thought I want to go there for longer. So I applied for a study abroad and I went there for a semester. While in the semester, I had overloaded, meaning I had taken double the classes that I could take because partially the reason was that Japanese courses were a lot more interesting. They were about like anime, manga, or art. I was doing like calligraphy, Japanese calligraphy, and all those things. So later I realized that I had almost taken half, more than half of the courses for Asian studies. So I ended up declaring Asian studies too after I came back. And people still ask me how I did 3 majors in 4 years, but that is the secret that when I was studying abroad, I doubled down on the number of courses that I did.
Fascinating. I think, seizing opportunities and sort of knowing what overlaps within the curriculum. So information technology, studio art and design, and Asian studies. That's sounds definitely very divergent sort of areas. But I guess calligraphy and the art of the Asia Pacific, and then obviously even the courses, the one course that you took on Ramayan, and then of course your interest in computer science and all of that. So what earned you the BSc degree? Very often students say, okay, I can do studio art and design, but I don't think I'll get a BSc degree. Is it something unique that you had to do to get that?
So the BSc degree was from the IT side,
Okay.
and uh, I will be honest, like by the end, I almost lost interest in IT, but I had only a few courses and I was, I saw that the BSc degree was right there. There's a funny story that right before my graduation, there was the rehearsal of walking down the graduation, and they they said that I'm not getting a BS rather than I'm getting a BA, and I was disappointed about it. But at the same time, I had stopped caring about that part because I have learned what I wanted. But the day of graduation, I found out that that was a mistake in the print. So we have different gowns for BA and BS. So I had to go run to the bookstore that morning and exchange it for a BS gown, and I walked for BS. So
So that's quite a
yeah,
so
and Ashir, my brother, he helped me a lot because I was not able to run in that gown. So he ran and like he got me the hat was different or something. And yeah, I mean,
that's quite a
already,
funny
but yeah,
story.
yeah,
Super.
yeah.
So then you have that STEM degree, and you also get the extension to work for 2.5 years in the US. And
Exactly. So
sure. So a bit about studio art, though, since that's your area of work currently in Boston. Uh, what was it like studying studio art, and what do students who are applying to high school do to prepare themselves for it? And in design in particular, since that was your concentration.
so yeah, so I would have two advice for people who are trying to go for design. One is that not to try to specialize right now. They will have enough time to specialize during their college or after. So when I was preparing my portfolio for college, I had everything from sketches to watercolor to everything. So basically, when you're applying, the portfolio is your major thing. So I mean, I had um, I would like to tell the audience that I had also gotten into Pratt Institute in New York, which I didn't end up going because of the cost and everything back then. But the whole thing that they assess you on is your portfolio. If after you graduate, your portfolio is the most important thing. After you graduate, it's important that you specialize on a certain thing, which on basis of which people get hired. But when you're applying from high school to college, all the admission counselors and the art teachers see that you have potential. If you have potential, then you are going to get a call from the college. So make sure that you show that you have a good understanding of like the colors and the figure and ground. I'm pretty sure like the art students who are listening would understand what I'm talking about. So demonstrate that, show a variety. You may show more of what you want to specialize in. So if you are wanting to do a painting, then show more paintings, but don't be afraid to show like one or two graphic design or typography or sketches. I think it's good to have a variety. And I would say the same thing when you're going into college, especially when you're going to art college. A year of foundation courses is required. Do pay attention to that, because nowadays, even if I'm a UI UX designer, I have to sometimes dive into video, or sometimes I dive into print. I do have more experience in print, so it helps me. But a lot of people I see, they only know to do things digitally. Like they can design it on Illustrator or Photoshop, but they don't have the idea of how to look when it prints or something like that. So it's important to develop that skill, because a lot of the employers look to you as a very like diverse or versatile person, and you should be able to like talk to different people in different departments to coordinate. If you're talking to someone in print or someone in digital, you should know what they're talking about.
So your major was design, and I think mostly graphic design is what you focused on, and even your current job with UI UX design, websites, and all of that. What are the skills you've picked up, not just in college, but also beyond, in your first job and now in your second job in Boston?
I think in college, what I picked up is, I would say my mentor was the chair of the art department. So I was in contact with him even before I committed to Furman. That was the main reason that I committed to that. There was a big university. I don't want to put the name out there, but there was a big university in Philadelphia, which was my other choice. And I just felt like that was a very big university, which would care less about me. And I guess my choice was right. I'm very happy with my choice. So what I learned is he used to push me a lot. Like we almost became friends, and by the end, but he used to push me a lot. He used to challenge me a lot, and I learned how to like talk to clients and things like that. I took a class in branding, which was my favorite class in college from my major, and we had to pitch to real clients. And during that, there was one project where we were divided into two groups. Our class was divided into two groups, and we were supposed to work together. But I had a very strong opinion that none of those directions were good. So I had gone up to him and I said that I think we should do a different direction. So as he always does, he's like, okay, we'll divide the group into three parts. Then you are on your own. You can pitch your own idea. So what happened that the client ended up picking my direction out of all of them, because the group class was around 18 people. So it was 17 people against me. And that gave me a really boost in confidence, which I still date I remember. And he was surprised that they picked mine, because at the beginning he was also not very for it. But then we worked together. Like, of course, he helped me like refine it more. And yeah, that was my first project for a real client. And I think that's like one of my best memories of my art degree.
So fascinating. I think you continued the DPS Arkipuram hustle and sort of made a mark in foreign land. So your work doesn't seem to just be the designer who's sitting aloof from the client. You get briefs and sort of pitch even to get new clients or help the accounts team. What is your current job at Pegasystems like in Boston, and what advice would you give people who want to be designers or work in design firms?
Yeah, so right now I'm working at Pegasystems in Boston, and we are basically a SaaS company, and we work to give like software and logic to like most of the big banks in America, and it's a $1 billion company, but it's behind the scenes, so not a lot of people know about it. Like this year, the census of US is being done by Pega. So, but my role here is I'm working in a team which is in charge of the Pega Academy and Pega community. So we do the design and the creative side of those. So it's basically like LinkedIn Learning. What LinkedIn and LinkedIn Learning have is the same as like Pega and Pega community. So I'm a UI UX designer. So day to day, like we are creating pages and coming up with like page assets, like the pictures, the graphics that go into that. So I wouldn't say that I barely do any coding. I think that's like one of the misconception that people have, that if you want to be a UI UX designer, you need to know coding. You don't need to know coding, and it's mostly design tools that I use, and I have to sometimes code a little bit, but that's doable. I think if you are going into UI UX, you have to know a little bit of like web coding. So yeah, I think that's basically it. Like the first job I had out of college was at Penguin Random House in New York, and I was in the Chillers marketing team, and it was mostly print, even if I had digital. So my transition has flipped. Like now I'm more on the digital side. But at Penguin, I used to do a lot of things for like Dr. Seuss, Sesame Street, Marvel, DC, like Disney. So that was a lot bigger scale. But you also have to realize that it depends on like what kind of team you're working in. And there I had less say because all of these brands have been developed over like decades. So you basically get to do what you're told. Like the thing that I designed, which I had full control, was like a birthday card for someone. Like that was the only thing which I had no like guidance over, that I could do whatever I want. So you have to choose what you want and not get disheartened. Definitely, or try to get like a design job in college. I worked all my years in the marketing department at Furman, which helped me a lot to learn about like lingo and how the things go to like the printer, how it is to be delivered, some work ethics, and then that helped me in my interview and Penguin, and then in Penguin I learned high industry standard of, if you are like I was designing promotional things for Frozen 2, even if I had not seen how Frozen 2 art looks like. So that was
Fascinating.
like
Yeah.
that was a very interesting thing because Disney doesn't let you see their assets. So we had like one computer in there that could do everything. But yeah, it's very interesting to do all those things, and you get to learn from how the industry works, how things are protected, copyright, all these things. Yeah.
Fantastic. So, where is Anish headed now? What are goals that you've set for yourself, and where do you think what do you think would be obstacles in your course or opportunities that you're almost ready for?
I think like the major obstacle that you have, I think it's like any US like international student in US who has that, you cannot do extra work per se because you're on a strict visa. So I think a lot of the time is that people see my work and they want to work with me as an independent designer. Like I can't really work for them. So I think I want to get to a point where I can work for them. So there are you just have to work towards that to get like a work visa or something like that. So legally, that is the barrier obstacle that I have. But other than that, I do want to teach more about design, not per se like a professor, but I think like I want to like put out videos online where I can teach people more about what I have learned and what my experience is. I think most of the designers that I see are very accomplished designers, or like you say, celebrity designers. So it's really difficult to like touch them because they have so much reputation in the design industry. And they often do interviews, but I think people don't equate themselves with them. They're not that relatable. So I think even if I have not spent years and years in the design industry, I want to teach people about what my experience has been and how I have gotten here. And much like our conversation right now, I'm pretty sure like
Absolutely. Yeah.
I yeah, I wish like at some point I talked to someone who was 24, 25 about how their experience has been, to reach to that point. Yeah.
Fantastic. So I'm just going to get to the closing of this session with one final question. If you were to give advice to students who are stuck in a limbo right now, there's so much uncertainty in the world, especially the student body that I work with, kids who are currently in college, lost their internships or job offers, and even students who are supposed to go to college this year are not sure if colleges are reopening. How do you deal with uncertainty? What is the advice in times of COVID that you'd like to share?
Yeah. So, like uncertainty has been the second nature after my graduation. So, at one point I wasn't sure if I would be able to get the STEM extension because there was some problem with my employer, and then after that, there was a delay in getting my STEM OPT because of the government shutdown that was here earlier. So I got my work authorization 5 days before I ran out of my extension. So I did not give up because there are some things that are not in our hands and you can't do anything about it. Like, for example, the COVID-19 or the world economy, that's not something that you can fix. So stop worrying about the things that you can't fix and do the things that you can. So right now, I have gone out 3 times in the past 2 months, mostly for groceries. And at one point, we were just getting groceries delivered because it was so unsafe to go out. But I've been learning new skills. Like I've been trying to learn more of like video making and things like that because that's something I've always wanted to learn. Like I've been writing some scripts about like videos and podcasts and things like that. So you just have to look on the bright side, and if you have the skills and you're confident about that, you can make it anywhere in the world. And especially to the students in India, at the end of the day, you always have a home to go back to. Like it's people make such a big deal out of staying in the US, but at the end of the day, it's just a choice. US is no better than what India is, and or India is no better than what US is. It's just a preference.
Well said. So you can make the most of where you are and sort of use your education to succeed wherever you are. So with that, I'd like to close this session. Thank you, Anish, and we'd be delighted to invite you again to our panels and webinars in the future. So looking forward to seeing you again.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.